Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of Terraform. My name is Chia from DevOps Easy Learning, and today we'll be going through Terraform log file. I will basically explain what is Terraform log file, why a log file, and when this Terraform log file was implemented, right? Because we have multiple versions of Terraform, like maybe Terraform 12, 13, 14, to Terraform 1, also latest. When HashiCorp basically implemented this log file and why? Now, let me go ahead here and I will kind of hit this Terraform icon. Is going to take me to a GitHub repository, and I'll also make sure that I'll put a link to this GitHub repository in the description of this video, so that if you want to go ahead and follow the same step, you can go ahead and do so. Here, we need to have something already before you can follow though. You need to make sure that you have Terraform 12, Terraform 1, Terraform 13, Terraform 14 install, because I have a couple of examples that I will use to explain. And if you don't know how to install all those versions, please go ahead also and check the description of this video below. I will go ahead and put the video on how to install Terraform on Mac, also on Windows and on Linux, to install all these versions that I will be using here. If you pull on my terminal here, you guys will see that I have all those versions installed. For instance, if you just type TF12, it is already installed. I can say TF12 version, and it's going to give me the version of that I installed already. If you type TF13 version, it is already installed. And if you type TF14 version, you guys will see that it is already installed. And also if you type the TF1, you guys will see that I have Terraform 1 installed, right? TF1, I say 11 instead. This is already installed. I mean, this is what you should have first before you can follow up this video. And if you don't know how to do so, the link will be in the description of this video. Now, let me go ahead and open this code here. I'll copy this. This is a public repository. You can go ahead and fork this repository, clone it to your local machine, and kind of open it and do the same thing that I'm going to do here. I can say cd here, and let me first of all move into the root of this repository. ls, I basically clone it and put it in this folder here called code, and this is the root of this repository, ls, and I can go ahead and cd in this specific path where I have all this, and you can just type code here to open VS Code here, and here we have Terraform version 12. Now, what is going on here? When we say a Terraform log file, basically, Terraform log file, it's just a mechanism that we use to do what? To lock the provider version. Before Terraform 12, Terraform 13, there were no log file, which means when you basically type Terraform in it, Terraform will go ahead and download the provider, and it's going to store it local as usual. But there will be nothing that is going to lock that provider, which means if you push this thing in a GitHub repository and somebody clone the repository and type Terraform in it, let's say he set a different provider, what will happen is that Terraform will go ahead and download a different provider, and that will be used. Starting from Terraform 14, that means 0.14, HashiCorp basically implemented something called a log file. And when you download, you type Terraform in it, it will go ahead and download the provider and make sure that it lock the provider version in that log file. And you basically check this on out in your repository, right? You push it in your GitHub repository, which means if somebody cloned the repository and have a different provider, when you will type Terraform in it, it is not going to work. Why? Because the provider was already locked down in that Terraform, in that log file, right? The provider, it was already locked down. Now, let me go ahead here and kind of type Terraform in it here. You guys will see here that it is not going to create any provider file. But when I will hit Terraform 0.14, I will type it, I will use the 13, and what we have here is just a simple code here that will set the provider. We are using Terraform 12, and our required provider, we want to download something that is in between two, and that's it. And here we have an EC2 instance here. If you go to Terraform 1, Here, as you guys can see, when we increase the Terraform version, the required provider also increase a little bit, right? Which basically makes sense, right? And if we move here to Terraform 13, as you guys can see, it support a provider that is in between two. And if you are going to Terraform 14 is support a provider that is in between three. And this is where this log file was implemented. If you start here, let's say I open this one, a new integrated terminal here, and take this. Let me start with 14 and type Terraform init with 14. This is my terminal here. And let me exit. I don't know why it took me somewhere that I don't understand. Let me open this one, a new integrated terminal. Open a new integrated terminal. Yes, ls. We have the TF there. Let me type Terraform init. And here, the required provider. Why? This is wrong. When I'm typing Terraform here is going to use with version. When I check all my versions here, by default, if I'm just using Terraform, this is going to use Terraform version 1. That means I said dash version. It is going to use version 1. And that is the way that I set it up. If you want to use Terraform 14, I need to use Terraform the TF14, right? Like at least all the version. That means here I need to use the TF14, and I will say init. Now, this will go ahead and download the provider. When it will download this provider, it will go ahead and create the log file. And I will show you guys. Here, okay, it looks like there is no log file for now with Terraform. Okay, let me go ahead here and apply this resource. Terraform apply. Let me make sure I am on 0.14. Yep, Terraform apply. I'll say TF14. Now I'll say apply. And this will go ahead and generate the state file. Error looking the state file according to the state log. Incorrect. Open Terraform.tf log. The system cannot find the specific source and so on. I'm a little bit surprised, first of all, why it did not create any log file here. Let me go ahead and close this. And I'll open my terminal here. See where I am here. I am in that. Let me cd again in Terraform 0.14 here through my command line. I say ls, and I will also use the ls, and I will use -a to list all hidden files if we have one. Right here, so far, I'm going to remove that log file is here already, but I don't know why it wasn't showing up here in my VS Code, and it just showed up right now. What I'm going to do here is what? I'm going to wipe out and start over. ARM have an RF. I'm going to remove this and download the provider again. I'll also remove the log.acia file, and I'm going to remove the state file. And I will hit enter. Here, we don't have anything now. If we also check here, we'll see that it is gone. Now, let me go ahead here and type Terraform init. Terraform, I'm going to use the TF14 and init. And this is going to download the provider, store it local. When this is done, we are going to see here if it basically created that log file. Let me first of all type ls-a. As you guys can see, a log file was created here. And if you are checking my VS Code here, we have that log file. As you guys can see here, we say, okay, download anything in between 3 here. And if you don't know how this symbol basically works, we also have a video that talk about this thoroughly. Here, basically, this is the version that it downloaded. And as you guys can see here, it basically locked this provider, which means if tomorrow somebody just go in here and trying to change this and put something else, let's say I am trying to put maybe something else that I want this to be 4 or I want this to be 2, it is not going to work because this provider version was already logged in here. Let us also try this one with Terraform 13 to see if we are going to have the log file when we type Terraform init. ls, let me cd dot and ls, let me move to Terraform 13 and hit enter. ls, let me type tf13 init. And you guys can see here, it is going to download the provider, anything in between 2. And let us check here and see if we have anything. In VS Code here, when I type tf13, it just download. You have only the provider. You can see here, it download the provider and store it in here. Here, it download only the provider, but we don't have this terraform.log.acl to log the provider, right? And that is what I just explained earlier, that HashiCorp basically implemented this one with Terraform 0.14 going upward to the latest version. If you also check the 12, let me cd also in 12. Yes, it's cd dot and ls and cd in Terraform 12 and tab the Terraform init. You guys will see that we will not see anything. tf12 init. It will download the provider, but we will not see any log file. If you check here and go to 12, this is 13, this is 1, 12. As you guys can see, there is no log file, but here there is a log file. And Terraform will basically kind of strongly advise us to push this log file into our GitHub repository, which means if somebody check out this GitHub repository and trying to set another provider here, let's say I am trying to set this provider here and say it's equal to 3. And we know so far, if you're trying to set this thing and say, I want something that is maybe greater than or equal to 3, that is not going to work no more. As soon as I change this, let me say something in between. Let me put like 2. Somebody just said it like that. And we know that in the log file, this is the version that was downloaded, right? Let me move again into Terraform 14, and I will try to type Terraform init, and you guys will see what will happen. ls, let me cd dot, go back, move again into 14, tf14. And let me type tf14 init, tf14, and I will say init. As you guys can see, it fails. It fails. Why? Because that was already locked down. Now, let me move to tf13 and change the provider, and we are going to see if what is going to happen. If you click on maybe 13, let me change this one here and put 3. As you guys can see, I will change this thing here and put anything in between 3. And I'm going to save. And go back to 13, cd dot ls, cd, and I'm going to 13. ls, let's say Terraform tf13 init. As you guys can see here that it is downloading a new provider, which is not good, right? There is no way that we can lock this provider and make sure that we are using the same provider across all our TF configuration file, right? Somebody can change it and it's going to download whatever provider they set here, which is not good. How are we going to enforce a specific provider across all environment? That is where the log.acl file basically come in and solve this issue here. As you guys can see, I change this and it works without any issue, but with 14 it did not work. So let me just type Terraform init here also, and you guys will see that as soon as I'm going to initialize that with Terraform version 1, we will have a log file. Let me go here and use Terraform version 1 ls, and I can type tf1 and init to initialize this. And as you guys can see, it is downloading a provider. We want something in between 0.4 and have decided to download 4.67.0. Let us go ahead here and kind of check in here and see. As you guys can see here, I have the provider. This is what it showed me to the command line that was downloaded, and it basically used the terraform.lock.htl to lock this provider, which means as soon as we check this one in GitHub and our GitHub repository and you clone this code, if you try to change this provider here, if you change this, it is not going to work. And the only way that you can change this at work, let's say you have a requirement that something and you want to change this, there is a way that you can do that. Let's say I change this thing here and I put it to 3, anything in between 3. And let me go back. When I would have Terraform init, tf1 init, it is going to fail. How am I going to deploy this? How am I going to resolve this issue? The only way to resolve this issue is this. If you tab ls-e, you can go ahead here and remove this rm-rf. I will remove where it store the provider, and I'm going to remove the lock.acl, this tool, and I will go ahead now and tap Terraform init one more time, and it will go ahead and download another new provider, right? But if you're at work, before you delete this, you know exactly what you are doing, but it kind of locked the provider. There was no way that I can change that. And you need to know exactly what you are doing before you can resolve this issue, right? I'm not going to kind of deploy anything in this video because the purpose is not to deploy something and see how it looks like in AWS, but the purpose is to understand. It is really to understand how the terraform.lock.acl file, which is the hidden file, works. What is the purpose of this file, when the file was implemented, and what is doing, right? It kind of lock down the provider so that we use the same provider across all our environment. And this was implemented in Terraform 0.14 to the latest version. If you are still using the old version of Terraform, like Terraform 12.13, this is not there, which means user might be using different provider across environment, which is not great, right? We are not consistent. That's it for this video, guys. If you like this video, please let us know in the comment below. And if you have not yet subscribed, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. Thank you. Bye-bye.